Speaking of movies that are fun, it made me think of a movie I watched just last night that is not fun at all. I think it's on Netflix, and I was, Destiny doesn't know. When I play Magic the Gathering Arena on my laptop late at night and I'm relaxing, I like to have something in the background. Usually it's Family Guy, King of the Hill, old Simpsons episodes, but I also, my favorite genre of film, I like campy, shitty horror movies. I just really enjoy them. Okay. And so I was like, I haven't watched horror in the background while I'm playing Magic in a long time. And so I kind of scrolled, and something suggested on Netflix, I think, was called The Girl Next Door from 2007. There's a 2004 movie that's very tame called The Girl Next Door, but this one was 2007 movie, and I'm like, I have never seen this before, and I imagined it would be on the tier of horror as A Stranger Calls or When a Stranger Calls, where it's like you get some spooky, you get a little thrill, but it's not gory, not vicious, nothing too bad. Yeah. And I was like, that's going to be my background movie. And so I'm started playing Magic, and the background of this tale is it's two girls. One's 18 and one is 13 that has polio. It's set in the 50s. So she's got those leg rickety things set up, and their parents die. And so they have to go live with their cruel, insidious aunt. And her aunt, she has four young boys, all like under 14. So those two girls come to live with them. And immediately, the first half hour of the movie is demonstrating how much of a bad parent and bad woman this aunt is. Because the first scene is she's like offering these literally 9-year-old boys and girls beer and cigarettes and being like, would you like a beer? Would you like a cigarette? And then she just like, one of the first scenes, they're all in the kitchen. She's just talking like about her pussy, like talking about sex to children. And like her young sons are getting like horned up over it. And
I'm out.
So what happens?
I'm out. Keep going. No. I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I want to go take a piss break if this is what I think. I believe this is based on a true story. So everything that you're describing actually happened, just so everyone knows.
In some form.
No. I've read the court transcripts. This happened, and it's worse than what you saw. It's so much worse than what you saw.
I haven't done that, but I did see awful. After I watched it, this was a real story.
I don't like this story.
It was the most upsetting thing I've ever seen on Netflix, and it was.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
No, literally, and it. Then it shows how dysfunctional and ridiculous the scene is with this woman, this aunt in charge, and she's kind of like hyping her own young sons up about sex stuff, and she leaves the room, and all the boys decide they want to tickle the 18-year-old girl who's coming to live there. And she's very reserved, very uncomfortable. She doesn't know the situation. So all the boys are over there tickling, but they're really just like groping her like tits and ass and stuff. And the girl, the 18-year-old girl, shoves one of like the 8-year-old boys off who was grabbing her tits, and the boy falls. Then the aunt comes back in the room, and the boy's like, she pushed me. And the girl's like, he grabbed my breast, or he tried to feel my pussy or something. And the mom was like, he's a good boy. He would never do that unless a whore tempted him. And so then the mom goes in the most evil fashion ever. She's like, I'm not going to punish you, Angelica, whatever the fuck her name was. When you do something wrong, it's Susan who's going to pay for it. And so then the woman takes Susan, the polio-ridden 12-year-old, and beats the shit out of her. And so then like the girl realizes like, oh my God, I need to get out of this situation. The older girl, like my young sister's getting beaten. This is horrific. They go to a baseball game the next day, and the boys plus the mom, they kind of notice at one point, the older girl goes to talk to a police officer, and you can see through the body language, the older girl's like, and she smacked her and she's abusing her and she's giving boys cigarettes and booze and stuff. And little girls from around because it wasn't just boys. It was like 4 sons, a cousin who was a boy, and then like a couple girls and boys from the neighborhood who would hang out in there. And the night they get home, they go, we know you talked to the cops. You're going to go in the basement, and we're going to chain your hands to the ceiling, and you're going to stand there on 3 books, or we're going to kill or beat the shit out of this girl with polio. And so she goes down there, she gets chained up, and they go down there. The afterward, the polio girl's not there. The family, the 4 dysfunctional being fucked with boys by the mom, and the mom herself, the aunt, is like, she's a whore. I bet she fingers herself. I bet she's fucking playing with her pussy. And then the boys are like, yeah, she's a whore. And these are 8, 9, 10-year-old boys. Like, she's a whore. And I'm watching at this point, magic is by the wayside. I'm locked into this movie.
So you enjoyed the movie.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then she tells her like 11-year-old son, like, she needs to be punished. She's a whore.
Yeah, she does.
And then she's like, what do you want to do with her? And like talking to her like 12-year-old son like that. And he's like, I want to cut her clothes off. Jesus and he's Christ. Like, cut her clothes off. She's a whore. She deserves it. And so he goes over there and is like cutting her clothes off, and she's like crying, and he's like talking about wanting to finger her pussy and shit. And she is. I'm not exaggerating at all about this fucking movie.
Act like this is all cool.
It's called the girl. It's called The Girl Next Door. How am I supposed to know this is what the movie is? And then they cut her naked and everything. And then the mom is like, I bet she's given blowjobs to boys before. You know what we do to girls who do that? She starts burning her with cigarettes. Just burning her with cigarettes. The girl is like screaming, crying, everything. And guess what? It amplifies from here. It gets a little more intense.
A little burn play, Taylor. I can't believe
so they literally go back upstairs. The boys come back down in the middle of the night, and the girl is like chained up, hasn't had water in 2 days. And the boys come back down. It's like a 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-old. They come down and they're like, I want to, mom's going to find out. Mom's going to find out if we touch her. And they're like, shut up. We're going to touch her anyway. And so they like start threatening her chained up, a 14-year-old or 12-year-old being like, I'm going to finger your pussy. It's going to happen. And if you say shit, she's going to know, and she'll come down here and we'll tell her you did this. And I'm watching this like, oh my God, like this is a brutal thing. The mom comes back down the next day, decides that's not intense enough. So they take her down. They tie her to a bed with her hands above her head that way. And the neighborhood girls, the neighborhood boys, and all of her sons and her watch as she like has her sons rape her in order, like raping. And like, it is beyond fucked up. And after she allows her first son to rape, she goes, you can't rape him, second son, because your brother's cum is all in there. That's ridiculous. You're going to go skinny dipping in your brother's scum? Gross. And then so she decides, well, we need to let men know that she's a whore and no one will want you ever again. And so she heats a bobby pin and writes in burns on the girl's stomach, lower stomach. It doesn't even say whore. Whore's only 5 letters. She wrote like, I am a whore. Fuck me, please. Fuck me good. Like that amount of burns in her skin.
Are you exaggerating with that?
I'm not exaggerating.
Wow. This is really upsetting.
I won't go any further because I don't want to spoil that great ending. But it is bar none. I had no idea how upsetting this movie would be to watch. It's called The Girl Next Door. Does that strike you as something horrific and horrible?
I knew about it, so like as soon as
I didn't know about
describing it, I was like, "Wait, that's that thing that happened. That
have you seen it?
Happened." I would not. No, I would not watch the movie. I know what happened, and it's much worse than what you're describing. It's
and there was also the part after the writing on the stomach where the mom decided this is horrible and she's a whore, and she starts giving a little monologue in front of all the boys and neighborhood girls. She goes, there's only one little place that makes a woman want to have sex, and if you get rid of that place,
why are you?
Then it no longer wants to. I'm telling the fucked up story, dude. And
I feel like you're like one of those movie recap channels on YouTube where I've gotten like
all
what
the
is
fucked
the
up
place? I don't understand.
The place is the clitoris, and then the woman uses the aunt uses a blowtorch to burn the woman's clitoris off.
She ruined her clitoris?
And then the woman dies. She dies at the end of her wounds, almost mercifully, how bad they were to her. But I was like finishing up that movie and the credits were rolling, and I was like, there's no world in which this is appropriately called The Girl Next Door. Like, give us a real horror story, because there's another movie called The Girl Next Door, and it's about a silly little phone call. Like, there's no reason for this, but
this ruined my evening.
It ruined your evening?
The whole night. Like hour late tonight, I'll be thinking about this again. It's so awful. It's so awful that happened.
It's one of the most, and it's not a movie that relies on the gore and stuff. It's more just the thought and the knowledge of what's going on. It's truly upsetting. And I watch a lot of horror. It is rare for me to find a horror movie where I'm like, oh, oh no, but this one did it. So I guess hats off in that way.
I mean, but it didn't scare you. It just like disturbed you. It was just gross. Yeah. It really makes you like feel. It makes me feel worse to be a human if that's what we're like. You know what I mean? It's like
only some of us, a small percentage of us.
But that's what I'm saying. Like some of us are like that. Like I'm one of those things, and one of us is like that. Like it's just it makes us all lower. It's so awful, and it's terrible. I think I saw a post on Reddit once, like one of the that described like what happened, the whole thing, and I read it.
I don't want to read that.
It's real bad. It's just so awful. I don't like that story at all. That might be my least favorite story.
That I will not be rewatching.
No,
it was.
You don't want that one on Blu-ray?
I like fucked up movies and shit like that. And so part of me, like I'm watching, I'm like, this is great. This is like really fucked up. Like I like when it catches me off guard. I did not see most of that shit coming. But then you realize it's based on a true story and it's pretty horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like torture porn. I don't like that stuff where people are like tied up and being cut apart.
Like Hostel. That shit was the worst about it. Hostel was like 0% scary, 100%. You know, if we show someone's finger getting cut off in this way, maybe people will get scared.
There was a whole genre of gore porn, like Audition, Hostel, the Saw movies. Yeah. That Martyr. There's these like Italian films or French. Like, there was this whole genre where basically it was just like how much gore can you put on the screen, and like that's like scary or horrific, whatever. Yeah.